What is exactly the objective of your trip?
Well, the objective is twofold. One is that in Zimbabwe today, there is an inclusive government that has been formed over the last 3 months. And it is our wish to re-engage the world because we have been isolated as a country for the last 10 years. So we are coming here to say it's time we normalized the relations. It's time we looked at those restrictions that affect us. So that's one. The other one is that as a very fragile administration, we've got competing needs, but very little resources. And therefore, during this transition, we need transitional support from our friends, from those that are sympathetic to the plight of Zimbabweans. And as I said, the needs are so many. And therefore, we believe that we need to seek support.
Now, our Minister Koenders didn't promise you to resume the aid directly. Are you disappointed by that?
Well, I'm sure that these are points of engagement. It's not easy just to say we're giving you aid because I'm in the country. I think what is important is that they've raised issues. We have clarified a lot of points of concern, and that this government is on an irreversible path to change. And that's the reassurance people want to hear. And I don't expect him to make a commitment immediately. I expect him to review their position with regards to support to Zimbabwe. And obviously it takes time. And I appreciate that.
Do you understand the reluctance of Western countries and donor countries to resume aid and the reasons why they don't do it?
I do understand. The reason that people would put these restrictive measures in the first place, one, to be assured that the conditions that made them to make those conditions do no longer exist. And what I'm doing is to say, yes, we have formed this government as a coalition government. We are on a transformative agenda to rectify those mistakes, if I may put them as such, and to be for Zimbabwe to be accepted as a normal democratic country. And that's the information that people need to be reassured, because they had their own position earlier on, and they need to review their position.
Can you tell me, after 3 months now being Prime Minister, what are you satisfied about and what is your biggest frustration?
Well, I'm satisfied that we've made progress in a number of areas. We've opened schools, we've opened hospitals, we've cut inflation from 500 billion% to 3%. We've got goods in the shops which people can now go. I'm disappointed that there is not sufficient liquidity for people around for the poor people of the country. But it's something that goes hand in hand when you go on a multi-currency, which you don't print like we used to print. I'm a bit disappointed at the pace of the outstanding issues on the central bank and the Attorney General. Those are really frustrating, but I understand that we have to navigate those sensitivities.
And what about political prisoners, human rights, and these kind of things? This is also a thorny issue.
Well, as far as I know today, there are no political prisoners. All have been released because we have to intervene. Because if there is a due process of the law, it must be followed. So, yes, we are conscious of the sensitivities around this, and we are managing. The leadership understand the challenges around cohabitation. What you may regard as invasion or a violation of human rights may actually be something that you need to manage in order for the other side to see through that we are actually hating ourselves rather than creating conditions that are better for ourselves.
But there are still activists of your party in jail.
No, they are not. They are not.
Okay, that's a lot of progress. Then about your relationship with President Mugabe, how would you describe it at the moment?
I would discuss it as a workable relationship. We have decided, we have negotiated this agreement in the national interest, and we both realize the burden of responsibility that is on our shoulders, that we want to see, and the people expect us no less, that they want to see an irreversible progress towards change.
But in the past, Mr. Mugabe didn't give you many reasons to trust him. Why do you trust him now?
I didn't say I trust him. I said that we have a workable relationship. Trust is a real deeper feeling. As far as I'm concerned, as long as we all are motivated by the same objective and the same goal, our relationship is mutual, right? And I'll go so far as to say that since he has demonstrated that he's committed to the principles, the letter and the spirit of the agreement, I am also committed to the same letter and spirit of the agreement. But of course the test is in the pudding as we go along. Some things are frustrating because they are slow. But I realize that we must never lose sight of the goal, why we entered this government.
But the goal of Mr. Mugabe has always been keep Mr. Tsvangirai out of government.
Now that we are in a partnership, he has to have a clear goal. And what is a clear goal for both of us? Is to get this inclusive government, walk through the democratization agenda, the stabilization agenda. And we have got the plans, which we have worked both jointly to see them through. And it's an extraordinary relationship. We are moving from a very acrimonious relationship to a relationship where we can have productive discussions. It's an extraordinary and complex relationship.
And I have one more question about the tragic death of your wife. Is there still an investigation going on to the cause of the accident?
No, the cause of the accident was that it was an accident. There are no any further investigations. I'm satisfied myself that it was an accident. In spite, of course, of some of the speculative stories that it could have been an ulterior motive on the part of my opponents, I'm satisfied that it was an accident.
Were you moved by the words President Mugabe was speaking during the funeral of your wife?
Well, in our culture, when there is a death, we forget about our own personal differences. And we rally behind the one that has been fallen the misfortune, and that's our culture. And I do respect those kind of words of condolence expressed by him.
Some say that this tragic moment has maybe helped Zimbabwe to get.
Well, to a greater extent, my wife's passing has united the people in a very profound way. I found it quite moving and humbling. Yes, I think every Zimbabwean poured their grief over the death of Susan, and perhaps her passing may have united Zimbabweans.
Okay. Thank you very much.